Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to call to order at 10 a.m. the Tuesday, September 15th Board of Commissioners meeting. If you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. At this time, we'll accept any public comment for anybody in the room or on the phone. Seeing no one here for public comment or on the phone, we will move to our minutes from our meeting on Tuesday, September 8th. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from the September 8th Board of Commissioners meeting.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay. We're going to move into a presentation, and this is going to be an update on the Mental Health Crisis Service Task Force, and we are going to be hearing from Margaret Gray, our administrator, Natalie Corman, our administrator for Mental Health, Human Services, and we're also going to be hearing from Dr. Patricia Best, the chair of the task force. So we'll turn it over to Margaret for some opening comments, and then we'll proceed with the task force presentation. Okay, Margaret.
Yes, thanks very much. I just wanted to, it's my pleasure this morning to welcome back Dr. Patricia Best for a presentation on the Task Force on Mental Health Crisis Services. I join with Natalie Corman, who's been an active member of the task force, to just express our thanks to Dr. Best for everything that she's been doing. You might recall that she agreed to serve as the chair of the task force back in February, and shortly after it, we moved into a COVID-19 environment. And so the work of the task force, which was difficult to begin with, became ever much more so. And yet the task force has been able to make great progress over the summer. Small groups have met. They've adapted to a virtual Zoom environment and are at a point in time that it's appropriate to give you an update on their status and to share with you a timetable for what it looks like between now and the finish line. So with that, I will welcome Dr. Best and turn it over to her.
Thank you, Margaret. Again, good morning, Dr. Best. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Good morning. It's my pleasure to join you this morning and to give you the update on the work that we've been going through. When we last spoke on March 3rd, I concluded those remarks with a comparison of our work to that of a relay race team. I said that we had a strong start coming out of the blocks. We had plotted the track ahead. We had defined our lane. We had established our pace. We anticipated curves and straightaways, even possible stumbles that could impact our progress. We were confident we could complete our task and finish that leg by July. So to say that the COVID crisis, in all its serious ramifications, presented a challenging curve would be an understatement. But absolutely, yeah, more like a hurdle race than it was a relay race. However, we have been true to our charge, and I put that up on the screen again because this has truly guided our work, and just as a refresher for people about the purpose of the task force. You know, the last part of that task force, there were three major parts of that have guided our work, and the first one was examining the continuum of the mental health crisis services, and so you guided us by the areas that you specified, and that is really how we have approached this as we have gone through this. So we have developed a map, and our purpose was to create a very clear, crisp, clean map that would detail the services. This is a very complex system with a lot of transitions and overlaps, which is good. That's a good thing. Also very hard to depict simply, but we have been working on this graphic as we have gone along, and we have come to the conclusion that the audience for this particular graphic is going to be the decision makers and the stakeholders. It's not a client graphic. We will address that later as to how somebody might move through the system. So that's what you might expect to see later on when we get to that point. The other two parts of this and the meat of what we're doing have to do with the strengths of the crisis delivery system that we have right now, and then also recommending enhancements. So we are proceeding through that and have been since we reconvened. In March and April, as Margaret said, we had no in-person meetings as we were sensitive to the individual circumstances of the 30 members of the task force. In May and June, we polled members for their availability. They had no hesitation, of course, in enthusiastically saying, yes, let's get back to it, let's figure out how to do this. So we developed options for resuming our work, we revised our timeline, and we began the transition, as Margaret said, to that format. If you want to put the next slide up, I think you may have seen this before, but this is our revised plan from now until we come back to you with our report, targeted now in early November. In June through August, we divided the task force. This was agreement of everyone because people's situations had changed. We divided the task force into 4 smaller teams corresponding to the charge: a mobile team, a delegate team, a law enforcement team, and an emergency department team. We drew 2 or 3 members from each one of those teams to form a core group of about 10 people. And these are people who indicated their ability to meet more frequently and to shepherd this process along on behalf of the whole group. Each of the sessions focused, as you can see at the top, each of those sessions for that core group focused on one of those areas. In addition to the core group members, we asked people who were available of each of those teams to participate. As always, any member of the task force was welcome to join us, and many did as we went through those 2 months for people to participate in those sessions as well. And in August, we had a summary session. To give you an idea of the work that was accomplished then, we decided that part of what we needed to do was educate ourselves around the system in terms of the task force. So in each one of these sessions, we had an informational presentation. At the mobile crisis session, the first one, we had a representative from the Center for Community Resources. And as you're well aware, that was a new system to our county. And so it was informative for all of us to know about that system and the crisis, the role in the crisis, while they respond to and provide information and resources for across the behavioral health spectrum. We were focused on the crisis provision. In the second session, we focused on the delegate responsibilities, which, as you know, also encompass participation in the warrants with CO2s, which is volunteer commitments. Both of those, the groups that provide that, the service providers, but I think it is very safe to say that the task force was impressed with their very broad experience in management of crisis services, and also they both stressed their focus on client-centered approaches. And that, of course, was what the task force was hoping to do. If you look at the third and fourth, then, we were drawing on expertise from within the task force. So at the third session on law enforcement, we had presentations from Chief Tyler Jolly of Patton Township, and also our district attorney, Bernie Cantorna, provided information on law enforcement, policing practices, training mechanisms, and answered questions from the task force. At the fourth one, 2 of our task force members, Dr. Tiffany Cavillo and Dr. Brian Newcomb from Mount Nittany, provided information on the crisis response services at Mount Nittany Emergency Department. In each of those sessions, we started with the map and talked about that section of the map, also where it started for a person, how they moved through that section of the map, and where it was handed off to other potential services as well. The bulk of that work, this will be very familiar to all of us who've worked on any sort of problem-solving activity with a complex system. We formulated strengths of the system. We looked at gaps within those areas and between those areas. We looked at opportunities for strength and enhancement within those areas, across those areas. And then finally, we also looked at barriers. It wouldn't help for us to bring you a recommendation if we knew there was some insurmountable barrier involved beyond our control. At any rate, that's how we approached that. So all of the task force members had homework. They were asked to look at the consultant's report on the 60 interviews that were done last fall. We've shared readings and articles and information across the task force, and also the experiences of people on the task force. That information all came in. We are now in the process of, be careful what you ask for. We have a lot of information and a lot of perspectives and just a lot of resources at our disposal. So that's what we are working on, which brings us up to September, and as of last week. We are now taking all of that information, we're analyzing it and processing it. We're discussing about it. We have called the full task force back into session. for these next 3 meetings, and our focus is going to be working through that SGOB process to arrive at a series of recommendations to bring forward to you as well. I want to especially mention our next session on September 24th. We are also relying on Dr. Surya Chatters, who's going to do an information educational session on racial equity, cultural sensitivity, and implicit bias as that relates to, again, the mental health crisis system as well. The bulk of this time, we will also be reviewing relevant research, professional standards, effective models, best practices in Pennsylvania and in the nation, as well as pertinent laws and regulations that govern the adoption of various services as they apply to our recommendations. I also want to highlight the week of October 19th to the 23rd. The task force, by that time, will have finalized, this is not meant to be an oxymoron, but we will have finalized a draft in terms of where we will be at that point. And that we would like to take to, again, a public meeting, an opportunity for public response around those draft recommendations. Here is our best thinking at this point. This is why we think that, and this is how we would propose going forward. We're still working out the details of that, as you can imagine, in terms of the virtual format, what might be the most efficient and effective way for people to contribute to the discussion. And then, after that, we will put that final report together. That final report will involve a short summary that I've just given you of how we got to where we are, the recommendations, and our rationale for presenting those as well. So, the charge is a complex one. We are committed, as we said, really from the very beginning, to bringing you something that, to the best of our ability, is accurate, is thorough, is evidence-based where it can be, is forthright, and is actionable, most of all, actionable. So I would thank you very much for the opportunity to work with this group of 30 individuals representing broad facets in this community, and so very focused on this work and improving the situation for our crisis response system. It's really been a privilege to work with them, and they are an exceptional team. So I thank you for that opportunity. That was a quick run through, but that is where we are and where we plan to be, and we'll hope to see you early in November.
Super. Well, thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Best,
Patricia.
very much. We no need to thank us. Your service on the task force and your fellow members of the task force, we appreciate it so much. I think one of the things that we'd be interested in hearing from you, taking the time that you have over the last several months to look at this, is you do reference it's complex. You do reference the breadth of it and many of the things that are built into the structure of how mental health is and crisis services exist. But do you see hope? Do you see opportunities or improvements and ways? And are you hopeful at the end, because it can be so very complex? But do you see hope within that?
That's a wonderful question and observation. It is complex, and interestingly enough, the challenges that can seem daunting about where do we start with this to make an impact, but because of the breadth of perspective and expertise, at each turn there's been a way forward. If this, well, then this or this, and let's pursue that. So I think this process has given me, frankly, more hope than I had when I went into it. I had high expectations, but I was also aware of the limitations around trying to impact such a complex process with so many different entities involved in the process. But I think the atmosphere and the spirit of communication and collaboration around this really has made me optimistic that we'll be bringing something that it's not going to address every single issue, as you rightly point out, but it will certainly be an improvement and provide some enhancements.
That's important, I think, just because there's I think many people who are always wary of a task force report,
Right.
always wary of recommendations. But I think that there's going to be tangible, realistic opportunities here. And it may take months, it may take years to implement some of them, but it's going to be excellent work. I think we're all counting on that. And again, appreciate all the efforts that you've put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been my pleasure. It's really a task worth doing, and I'm just so proud our county and the borough have undertaken this. It's not been an easy thing to work with for all those different competing goods within a system like this, so.
We would avail Dr. Best if there was any questions at this time. Okay, all right. Thank you
Okay,
again, Doctor.
thank you
We
all.
appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Okay, we are going to head then into our COVID-19 planning and response, county relief block grant update. And do we have a presentation or just a discussion, I guess? Okay, super. Yeah, we'll turn it over to you, Mary Kay, please.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, we had a lot of success on Friday. It was a very hectic day, but at the end of the day, we had 546 applicants from small business apply. Right now, the Small Business Development Center and and others, Chad from our IT department, who's been doing a superb job, really trying to take a look at, there are some missing parts and pieces, so we're trying to now begin the process of getting everything finalized and then sifted and sorted in a way that we can present to the commissioners the applications in a process where you can make the decisions on those. So we feel very happy that completed. It seemed that there were a lot of folks that just found out about it on Friday because we had a lot of applications come in on Friday. But we are happy that that part has concluded. And yesterday, we just launched the nonprofit application, and that is being in conjunction with Center Foundation. And I believe the Executive Director, Molly Kunkel, is on the call in case anybody, she called in case there are any questions for her. I spoke to her last night about 6:30, and we had 5 applications that were completed. But it's just the beginning, so we're very hopeful. That application process will be open as of yesterday at 9 a.m. until Monday, September 28th at 5 p.m. So calls are being taken by the Center Foundation as well as emails and anything that we can do to help that process, but it will be very similar to the small business development, 14 full days, and then they will sift and sort the data for the commissioners to bring that forward. So we're very excited that we're moving along on the journey, and I really appreciate everybody's cooperation. Margaret has been awesome and very, very helpful to a lot of needs as well as to the commissioners. So that's it. Do you have any questions for me or any comments that you would like to make? Any questions?
Oh, I think the big thing is thank you for all your hard work. I know the whole team that's been working on this. This is an exhaustive process. And, at the beginning, we thought, it would be a rather simple, straightforward project. But as we found out, that it's a complicated one, and it certainly involves a lot of talents that you bring to the table, as well as Chad and Margaret and a lot of other folks. So thank you, and just appreciate all the effort.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the SBDC for a tremendous amount of work on this, and our local chambers of commerce and economic development groups that help promote the program. I know that when I ended up visiting every single business in downtown State College that had a retail storefront, that was 3 days. All of downtown Phillipsburg, all of downtown Bellefonte, downtown Boalsburg, the State College and Boalsburg farmers markets, and then I started at the far end of South Atherton and worked my way up to North Atherton and pretty much ran out of my 450th brochure right around the 2 large hardware stores at the north end of North Atherton. But I know huge interest in this, and as you said, the Wednesday, Thursday, and then the last day, Friday, the number of questions coming in every day was in the many dozens. So appreciate all your help with that, Mary Kay, and Margaret's organizational work and the work of the SBDC.
And we do want to buy you a pair of shoes,
All right.
because I think you wore them out.
So we do have on the phone with us Molly Kunkel from the Center Foundation, and we would be happy to hear any perspective that you could share with us, Molly. We appreciate the partnership in the nonprofit sphere and the grants that we're putting out there, but good morning, and we'll turn it over to you if you had anything you wanted to share.
All right. Good morning. Thanks so much again for the opportunity. We're really thrilled to be a part of this great program, helping out the local nonprofits. And I think there will be lots of interest. Again, since it just opened up yesterday, we had been getting questions about it. When it might come open. So I know folks are excited about it and anticipate getting a number of applications, although I don't think it'll be quite as high as the business because there aren't quite as many nonprofits as there are businesses in the county. So hopefully it won't be, and probably won't be quite 500. But again, we're all ready to go. I think things are going really well. We'll be doing a lot of promotion and sending out emails. We're in contact with most of the local nonprofits anyway. We work with almost all of them in the regular course of business, so we'll make sure everybody knows about it, and also be doing lots of social media posts and getting the word out to make sure as many people hear about it as can, so that we get everybody to apply, and be doing some just kind of question and answer webinars later this week and possibly next week, just to make sure that everybody's we're answering questions, but looking forward to working with everybody and getting this process out there. And again, thanks certainly to Mary Kay, and I know Margaret's been doing a lot. That's just been a huge process, this going on at the same time as a small business one. And so I really thank them for all of the help that they've been, and thank you for the commissioners for just opening up this possibility and helping out the nonprofits. They provide such important services here in the community and also employ a lot of people, and so they really are an important part of the economy of Center County, and we're really pleased to be able to provide this opportunity. So thank you very much to the commissioners for doing that.
Thank you
Happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, thank you, Molly. And this is really augmenting and assisting with the action fund that the Center Foundation has set up that has been extraordinarily helpful with nonprofits, and grants have already gone out to them in a few different rounds, and so you've been really leading the way in assisting nonprofits, so we appreciate all the work you're doing before this on that. Any questions or feedback for Molly on this? Okay. All right.
Just happy we have a partner to help us out with the workload.
Absolutely. Well, super. Thank you, Molly, for joining us. We truly appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks so much. You too.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, please. If
one quick question.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
would be-
Sure.
Sorry, did we get back up again?
That's no problem.
Given how many applications you received, you may have touched on this briefly, but the timeline for how soon you think you could be getting the money back out, because I know you had said it all depended on how many you got. Now that you have them, what's the timeline look like?
So what we're going to be looking at is I'm working with a Small Business Development Center. We're trying to figure out the best approach. We have all of the data, and Chad Joyce uploaded everything all day Saturday to try to get all the documents there. So what we're hoping, we're hoping to get some checks out at the very beginning of October. I'm not exactly sure of the date. Those will be to businesses who did not receive any PPP or any EIDL, any other CARES Act. So that's the first batch, and then we'll be looking at probably 2 weeks or so later for the rest of the businesses. That's what the approach would be.
Thank you very much.
If you have anything you want to add to that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary Kay. Okay, so as we mentioned on the call, Chad Joyce is going to be joining us, and we're going to welcome him in via phone. Good morning, Chad.
Good morning. I have a contract for consideration with a renewal with Comcast Business to provide Ethernet service. This contract update includes an upgrade to our main internet connection from 50 megabits per second to 500 speed, which will greatly enhance a lot of the remote workforce and just a lot of other operations we have going on. It's also an increase at our MDJ Belfont office from 5 to 30, which will allow them to do additional video conferencing and those sort of things. The contract is a 5-year contract, and the total of this contract is $210,720.
Thank you, Chad. And just a question on this. Is this literally where they just change numbers on a spreadsheet somewhere and we get the additional speeds in both locations, or do they need to lay any more fiber or any other infrastructure?
They don't need to lay any more infrastructure. We do not need to purchase any additional infrastructure to support this increase in speed. It's a little bit more than them just turning on turning it up. It will take a couple weeks, but it's no additional infrastructure cost for us. They don't need to lay any additional line or any construction or anything like that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Any other questions for Chad on this item?
I just wanted to say great job, Chad, on that. I know Margaret assisted a bit as well. We got a great price, and we have 10 times the bandwidth we have currently, and goodness, we certainly do need it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, super. All right, we look for a motion then.
Motion to add the agreement with Comcast Business to next week's consent agenda.
We'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye?
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay, Chad, thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, too. Bye.
All right, bye. Okay. All right, for Human Services, we have Natalie Corman. Thanks again for being with us, and we'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. So I'm here on behalf of the Mental Health and Intellectual Disability Early Intervention and Drug and Alcohol Office. So the first 5 contracts, 1 through 5, include providers of ours, including Kim Rimmy for Student Assistance Program, Susquehanna Software, which is a platform for us for our case management and our services, Central Intermediate Unit for Early Intervention. Strawberry Fields provides us a variety of residential case management services, and then Eagle Valley Personal Care Home, who also does a housing supportive program for us. So these contracts are all for the new fiscal year. They are all at that 5-month allocation amount, and they total $731,240, with the county share being $34,158. The remainder all being state funding that we receive for these services. Contracts 6, 7, and 8 are finishing out our fiscal year 1920. As we have approached the end of our fiscal year, and all the invoices that we had and spending that has been unspent in previous contracts, we've been able to provide an additional $267,646 to Strawberry Fields, Center County Youth Service Bureau, and Eagle View Personal Care Home to provide us with some additional services that they did throughout the year from us. We also noted any opportunities to do any enhancements to services, especially in the last quarter under COVID. We were able to provide some of this unspent funding to them for the remainder of this fiscal year. So those are all 8 contracts.
Okay, thank you very much, Natalie. Any questions, comments for those items? Okay, will there be a motion?
Motion to add mental health, intellectual disability, and early intervention items 1 through 8 to next week's consent agenda.
We'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
We have some items for transportation in terms of use of in-kind funds and also acquisitions. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. I come and ask the board to consider some vehicle acquisitions potentially for our fleets. The first item is to look at potentially obtaining 4 vehicles from Penn State through the in-kind service program, 2 Dodge Caravans, a Jeep Patriot, and a Ford Fusion. The Dodges would be put into the county fleet for meal deliveries and needs of such as that. The Jeep and the Ford Fusion would go into the business fleet, one in children and youth, the other one to replace vehicle and mental health MHID department. And of course, the vehicles we're replacing would then be included in our soon-to-be, hopefully, online auction to get rid of all of our old vehicles that we're working on. All the vehicles seem to check out really well. The total in-kind costs would be $53,515, all-inclusive, to obtain the 4 vehicles.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any questions on these items? Hearing none, will there be a motion?
Motion to add the acquisition from Penn State to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried.
The second request I come before you with is to replace a vehicle that we've had to remove from service, a few months ago due to age and condition and immediate needs mechanically. It's a Chevy. It was a 2008 Chevy Colorado truck that we purchased new in August of 2008 for the Weights and Measures Department, and it has met its useful life. So we have an option in front of you to be considered of potentially purchasing a new truck, a 2020 Ford F-150 with a cap, which is needed for that service. And that truck can be purchased through CoStars through the state funding program from Hoffman Ford in Harrisburg, who's a CoStar dealer, for $29,603, all inclusive with everything we need. We did add a couple other options there, both being for a lease option, which we have done for several years, like with the Sheriff's Department, pay a 3-year, once-a-year payment, and then at the end of the process, own the vehicle for $1. It's worked out well for the Sheriff's Department. It's saved us laying out $75,000 for 2 new vehicles, and we break it out. So the options, of course, are the 3-year option at $10,414.70, or the 4-year option at $8,004.19. The difference with the lease option is we're not outlaying the full amount at one time. So, if we decide to proceed with that, whatever desire we have, we would certainly move forward with.
Thank you, Dave. In terms of these options, do you have a recommendation based upon your budgetary needs, what you have in cash reserves? What would you suggest?
Well, we do have, we have a vehicle replacement fund that we build on a regular basis, and currently that fund has $45,000 in it. So we could easily purchase that vehicle outright and not incur any additional cost, and we'll probably generate another $10,000 to that fund by year's end. So that would still leave us with nearly a little over $25,000 in the fund available for an emergency. I'm fine either way. The only difference with the lease is you pay some fees and a little bit of interest. So, if we want to avoid that, we would purchase it outright. The vehicle is available pretty much whenever we want it. So it's just a matter of finalizing the process. But I mean, we're good either way. I've communicated with our finance director, and he's given me these numbers to work with as far as what's available in our replacement fund. And of course, in a normal state, we probably add about $45,000 to $50,000 to that fund annually. This year, of course, it's less, but it is something that accumulates monthly. Right now, we're at about $2,000 a month accumulation rate. So if we get back to more normal, it'll probably be $3,000 to $4,000 a month. So either way would be fine with us.
Any hesitation in us doing the purchase outright, and we'll have some fees recouped by the end of the year to build that back up, but would we want to go in that direction?
The lease rates are, as lease rates go, pretty reasonable, but if we have the money sitting in the fund and it's going to be replenishing itself, might as well, I suppose, save the finance fees.
All right, would we look for a motion with that option indicated?
Sure. Motion to add the acquisition from Hoffman Ford with a direct cash purchase of $29,603 to next week's consent agenda.
Been moved and seconded. We will say that Ron gets a lot of use out of that, so I'm sure he'll enjoy his
Absolutely.
his new vehicle, and hopefully you can get a few dollars during the sale, the auction of it.
Oh, yes. Oh, we will. Yes.
Okay, good.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Dave, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just add that the maintenance
sure.
department has been extremely helpful to Ron during this time with allowing him to use one of the trucks, and but this will really help him a lot going forward. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Dave, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Moving into our planning section, we have with us Ray Stalinas, our Director of the Planning and Community Development Office, and Mitzi Gallagher-Long from CEDA Council of Governments to discuss these items. So Ray, we'll turn it over to you for anything you'd like to add before we hand it over to Mitzi. Good morning to both of you.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Hope everyone's well this morning. From time to time under the CDBG program, we receive revisions which involve movement of previously allocated funds that have gone through public participation process. And this morning we have two revisions from the fiscal year 2017 and also one revision from fiscal year 2018, both involving one project under the county CDBG program, and then the other being are on behalf of Community Bellefonte Borough for their projects within those respective years. So I could let Mitzi go over those.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mitzi.
In 2017, good morning. In 2017, there was some unused funding in the Milheim water main replacement project of $44,653. And the revision request to DCED is to reallocate that leftover funding to the Unionville potable water storage tank construction project. And the Bellefonte Borough request is to move $17,430 of administration money to their Talleyrand Park Bridge project. And let me open the 2018 request. 2018 request is also for Bellefonte Borough, and that is to move $19,210 of administration to the Talleyrand Park Bridge project.
Okay. Very straightforward, it looks like. We thank you both. Any questions for Ray or Mitzi on these items?
Just
Okay.
happy to see that they're trying to move the Talleyrand Park Bridge project forward. It'll be so nice to have a pedestrian bridge bolted to the railroad bridge. Makes a nice shortcut in Talleyrand Park.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So we would look for the motion then for the federal fiscal year 17 and 18 reallocations.
Motion to add the Community Development Block Grant Federal Fiscal Year 2017 and 2018 reallocations to next week's consent agenda.
We'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Ray and Mitzi, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
You too. Thank you. All right. For our consent agenda today, we'd look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve today's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on it? Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Margaret, anything for the administrator's report today?
Only to mention that we have started to receive recipient agreements from some of our municipalities, so I will be bringing those forward next week, and we'll address them in batches. But we have been getting good response from many of our municipalities related to the block grant allocation letters that we sent out to them. So we look for that next week.
Will that be on the agenda for action?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's get that money out.
Yes.
Well, it's not necessarily getting the money out. They still need to submit receipts to us.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can at least start the process of allowing them to access the money.
I appreciate what, yeah, so we could have them. I don't think there's any hesitation not doing the consent agenda, but for approval.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
absolutely, yeah.
So we can get
Absolutely.
that money out to them as soon as possible.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you, Margaret. We have the check run today. We'll turn it to Commissioner Higgins.
Sure. A substantially smaller than average check run of $291,115.04. The check of the week is to Midwest Presort Mailing Service for $20,000 for postage. Once we receive permission to begin printing the ballots for the upcoming general election, we'll ask Midwest to start printing them once they're approved, and within a few days they can turn around and put them in the double set of envelopes and print the barcodes and get them in the mail and drop them to the Pittsburgh post office. So they'll be on their way very quickly, because our staff internally is just not going to be able to handle the tens of thousands of absentee and mail-in ballot requests we're going to have. So that's our check of the week. I would like to make the motion to approve the check run dated September 11th.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the check run. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. For CNET requests, we do have one to add to the agenda, and this is for the Governor's Advisory Commission on Asian and Pacific American Affairs will be holding a virtual town hall, and this is to promote the census and also to answer any questions from the citizens in terms of deadlines to register to vote and other voter information. And then it'll be held on September 17th, Thursday at noon, and we're going to have, looks from the agenda that President Barron will be adding a video to it, and some other folks as well. So we look for a motion to add it's called Counted and Ready to Vote. Again, this would be a 50-50 CNET sponsorship. There's another governmental entities has already sponsored it, but we thought it'd be nice for us to promote and help put this event out there. So this would be we look for a motion to add the Counted and Ready to Vote CNET sponsorship to today's agenda.
All right, so motion to add the Counted and Ready to Vote event as a CNET request.
I will second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion to add it to the agenda?
What's the name of the event again?
Sure. Counted and Ready to Vote. So oh, I'm so sorry.
They said it was like the Asian Pacific.
Yeah, so it's the Governor's Advisory Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs.
There was such a thing.
That's right, yeah.
Give it a shot.
And some local members, Don Hahn is one, our district judge, and Prasanjit Mitra from Ferguson Township are members. So,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Fantastic. Yep.
Okay, all right. So all those in favor of adding it to the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Then we look for a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve the Counted and Ready to Vote taping by CNET on September 17th.
Okay, moved and seconded. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, then we'll give it over to Commissioner Dershowitz for voter registration.
All right, we have a total of 109,208 registered voters in Center County as of this morning. That's up 82 registrants from last report. There are 45,921 Democratic registrants, 149 Green Party, 684 Libertarian, 14,760 no affiliation, and 43,301 Republican voters. That leaves 4,393 of all other parties. And among those parties is the Independence Party, that is ENCE at the end, and there are 16 Independence Party members, and we'd like to recognize them this morning. The highlighted precinct this morning is Worth precinct number 85, which votes as a sportsman's club on Route 220 in Port Matilda. In the last primary, they had a total of 474 registered voters and 213 ballots cast, which led to a percentage turnout of 44.94%. And we want to thank the Sportsman's Club for allowing us to use their facility. But we really like to thank the folks that make it happen on Election Day out there, which is Mary Johns, who's the judge of elections, Patricia Moore, who's the minority inspector, Joyce Fetzer, who's the majority inspector, and the clerk is Michelle Bittinger, and that's pretty much who makes it happen at Precinct 85. So there you go. Thank you.
Doing the math on this, Commissioner, I think you might hit the nail on the head when it comes to getting to Precinct 91. I think right by the week before the election. So
Hey, there you go.
You couldn't have timed that any better. I got to say that's
There you go. Well, let's hope it works out that way.
All righty.
If not, we won't forget about them on the day after.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. We will. Any executive sessions that we needed to report or hold? All right. Before we look for a motion to adjourn, any questions? We've Gary, and then also nope, just the two of you here in the room. Okay.
One just note, it's something that's come up in part of discussion now, and that would be Big Ten football coming back. I know we're a long ways away from that, not trying to speculate anything here, but just asking you, because of the impact that it would have on the county's economy, your early take on that. Is it something that you think is feasible to do later on this fall?
From my perspective, before speculating, it'd be good to see what the university thinks and let them make that call. I personally don't want to get ahead of them. There are benefits to it economically, but again, I think President Barron and his team, his health team, they're looking at that very closely. And again, the Big Ten presidents will vote on it. So that's my sense. I'm sure my colleagues have their own thoughts on this as well.
It's pretty much President Barron's decision, and of course the decision of all the presidents of the Big Ten. There's 17 of them, I believe. So yeah, we're not going to get ahead of it. That's their decision. Once they make their decision, then the commissioners will work with the university in whatever is the appropriate manner.
I think it would be a welcome series of events. I think having Penn State football back in our community would be good for the university and good for the town, good for the county.
There was a person at last week's meeting raising concerns about the antique machinery show. But then we had the wrestling tournament. Thoughts on, there is a lot of statements, maybe political posturing about the pandemic, but when it comes to enforcement, it seems like more and more people are just doing whatever they want to do. Any thoughts on that? Is it frustrating?
Sure. So and then we had the the federal judge ruling yesterday as well. So outdoor events, I think if an entity would hold an outdoor event right now, that's the best course. I mean, if they do something outside, what we know from the virus, it's less transmittable outside. Again, if there's masking, if there's physical distancing, hand hygiene, people who are sick don't attend, that's good stuff. I mean, you can hold a decent event. I think the challenge is when you start talking about inside with poor ventilation. So I think rightfully so, there were community members who were disappointed about how it turned out at C3. There were photos and video live from the event where you could see exactly what was happening. I think that just concerned people. And we just want people to stay healthy and safe. I don't think that's too much to ask. In addition, there was really no notification. I think that's the other thing as well. There wasn't really any notification about the event. Local municipality in College Township found out about it almost a day or so in advance, and it was challenging to try to stop it. I will say the perspective that they shared was that it was news to them that this kind of event was not easily stopped or halted, but if you follow it from a statewide perspective, events like this have been going on ever since March. I mean, many have been going on under the radar. Many don't get the kind of coverage that this one did. So if there is a legislative fix, if there's something that can happen, that would be terrific. I think most people agree that it's not a good idea to pack an indoor arena with 400, 500 people from around the country. There are a lot of license plates there from around the country. And so as we see the explosion on cases locally, 2 of our school districts now have positives. So you have to be very, very mindful of some of the events that are being held here and what that means. And it all comes down to balancing public safety with trying to operate businesses and nonprofits.
Steve, the county is still in need of volunteers for the election?
I do believe we are. I think we'll be accepting applications from people probably through the next month or so until we get everything battened down, particularly at the mail-in and absentee ballot areas. So there will be lots of conversation over the next few weeks as we kind of zero in on the exact numbers that we need.
Well, is you can't assign those folks to where they're working until 5 days before the election? Is that right?
Well, primarily, we have to be mindful of the fact that we're going to try to keep the boards intact as much as we can, and if there are vacancies on individual boards, we're going to have to fill them. But right now, we're looking at what personnel needs we're going to be required for the operation and the counting of all the mail-in and absentee ballots.
Just one thing to add on that, we've seen some local businesses like Actuated Medical give their employees time off and pay them if they sign up to work the polls. As many businesses that we can get doing that, I think the better. That'll help out, again, as Commissioner Dershowitz mentioned, the vote-by-mail room, processing the tens of thousands of ballots in there, but also those polling locations around the county that need they might have 5 people working, it's the bare minimum, but maybe if they get 2 more, helps relieve people with breaks. They can do a little bit more cleaning and desanitizing of the station, so the more the merrier.
One final question I have, and that is, there was mention that at some point Penn State and the Department of Health, maybe there's going to be a greater collaboration there. Today, hopefully later today, we'll have another release of Penn State's updated COVID numbers. Have you heard any update in terms of collaboration between even yourselves, DOH, and the university?
There have been a lot of good conversations happening recently, especially in the last 24 hours. There may be some things to announce when it comes to additional assistance that's going to be given out, and some of the things that we're looking at doing in terms of stemming a little bit of the increase here. And so, but yes, I think there has been an improvement in terms of some of the collaboration discussions that have been happening, especially I think over the last week or so. A good percentage of cases have been occurring here in Center County related to the state. And so I think the Department of Health recognizes that, and the university wants to be as helpful as possible. So yeah, there's been a lot of positive conversations happening recently.
Did you say announcements are coming, or could be in terms of in the coming days?
Sure, I think there will be, yes. Yep. Details are still being worked out on some things. Again, additional ways that all the partners can help improve health here in the county when it comes to, you've got contact tracing, testing. Those are the big 2, and I think that we'll have some things that we can talk about in the next few days when it comes to contact tracing and testing and augmenting that here in the county.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. All right. Sure.
Motion to adjourn at 10:51.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.